This is what I dwelt in earlier, because that has a way of messing with your head. But you know, a failure, when you say, in my opinion, when you say failure, is when you've attempted something and you put your best in doing that, or you've not put your best in doing that, and nothing has come out of it. That would be a failure. But if that one failure was able to get a tear in your eye, if that one failure was able to make you feel bad about yourself and knowing that you could have done that a little more successfully, or if that failure results in you saying, God damn it, I'm not that bad, I'm going to try it again, then that's not an ultimate failure, that is just a setback. So people should identify what a setback is as opposed to a failure. A failure is when at the end of your life you haven't achieved the fullest potential that the good Lord put you on this earth for. But until then, there is no failure. So for me, when I have a flop, everybody thinks that's a failure. It is, in the commercial sense, in the way of me charging more money for my next film, I failed. But it is not really that. Especially with Iridi Sutra, it's a really good example. I remember being pushed against the wall at one point in time. I didn't have enough money. The one man that I was hoping would come through with the contract, gave up on the last minute. And I spoke to a friend of mine in the US who's retired, who's 44, he's retired, he sold his last company for a lot of money. And I said, Paresh, I'm done, man, I don't want to do this film anymore. I understand that I've failed, but this is eating up into my time, into my soul, eating up into what I think about myself. And he said, listen to me, man, before I became a successful person, he had become bankrupt 3 times in his life. He had lost everything, and on the 4th time he sold his company for 900 million. He said, my success was not selling it for the 900 million. My success was that every time that I failed, I got up, I used all that experience to move on to the next level, used all that experience to go on to the 3rd level, and used all that experience to finally achieve success. So that, I think, is a boon, and it's not, so I look at failure as something that is really a stepping stone to success. I mean it.
Yeah, so guys, appraisal time is round the corner. So you got a message. Okay, this question, one part of the question is coming from Samantha Murthy Kuttam Ramasundram. Wow, what a big name. Now,
I want to see your passport, man.
So he asked you this question, what's that one quality of yours that you're proud of, which rocketed you to bigger heights in your comeback today than in your debut?
I think it's my childish ability to have an out-of-body experience whenever I'm at an event like this. Every time I'm with Kamal sir, I have an out-of-body experience. Hey, I'm sitting with Kamal sir, or with Amitabh Bachchan or anywhere. I think even now, and I'll tell you a secret, even now if I'm driving past my car and my assistant will tell you, if I see a shooting somewhere, I'll say stop, let me see who's shooting, what is happening. It's that sort of a childish enthusiasm that I think is my biggest strength.
So yeah, I know, girls, you should clap for that, right?
Hey, you don't have to, man. If it's a good answer, then clap, okay?
You want to take that? Do you really believe that?
Thank you.
Alright, so this question is not about your acting. So when I researched about your profile, I think there's this terminology called multi-potentialite. People with multi-potentials. And there is this huge part which talks about your public speaking as a career before you started as an actor. You train people, and you're told you met your better half in one such session. So I don't know how far that is true.
It is true.
So can you throw some light on your public speaking career, sir? I think that's very, very interesting to hear.
Thank you, Sujit. Okay. Yeah, one of the most important aspects of success is the way you present yourself. You will not find an unimpressive, successful person in your life. Every guy who's achieved a great level of success in any field has the confidence that helps him speak to a crowd and hold their attention for a long time, because he speaks relevant stuff which is born out of his success and his experience. So, but one is dependent on the other. If you're not going to be noticed in this extremely competitive world the first time, then there's very little chance that success will come to you at a time that you really deserve it. So what I do is, whenever I used to conduct these classes, I'm going to give you an example that I used to give, which might be relevant to you all. I used to keep telling people that I can teach you public speaking, the ability to present yourself in front of the crowd in exactly 1 hour. It doesn't require you to take public speaking classes for 15 days. And they would say, how? And I would say, let us imagine that there is a 12 feet long plank of wood, right? And it's 1 feet wide. And I put it on the stage, and I ask, 6 pretty ladies and 5 men to walk on it. Just walk on it. In all probability, they will all walk without falling off. And once they come to the other side, if I were to ask them, what is it that you were thinking when you're walking on the plank? They'll probably say, you know, I was wondering why Maddie's making me walk, and I hope I'm walking well, and I hope I don't look fat, and I don't look thin. So things that would be relevant when they're walking on the stage. As an animal, that's all they require, 1 feet wide plank to walk. If I take that very same plank and put it on the top of 2 20-story buildings, and I say, now ladies and gentlemen, please walk. I said, what a day. It isn't a sensible thing to walk on a plank of wood between 2 20-story buildings, but as an animal, you still only require that 1 feet to walk, right? Why won't you walk? Because then the ladies will say, oh, who wants to walk to impress Maddie? If I fall off, I want to die. Or, you know, I want to survive this walk, and fair enough. So when you're walking on a plank of wood which is 20 stories high, you're thinking of falling off. You're thinking of what will happen to you when you fall off. And eventuality that might not happen. So, if I had the ability to transfer the confidence that you have when you're walking on the plank on the ground, and you're thinking when you're walking 20 stories high, is why is Maddie making me walk? Am I looking fat? Am I looking thin? Am I dressed well? Then you will still walk across. Because you don't look down. Similarly, every one of us has the ability to speak. We speak to our friends, we speak to our family members, we get angry at our friends for doing stuff, and we're always communicating. Now, how about I take that very confidence that you're communicating with your family and your friends to the stage where you're able to look at the entire audience as not a 20-story high building, but a stage where you're actually talking to your friends. We're actually talking to your assistants and actually fighting and making a point. If you're able to, it's just a question of the mindset. If you're able to change that one mindset, then everything falls in place. It is similar to every soldier who's at the border. You know, you should hear their stories, it's extraordinary, the last one. All the soldiers on the border, when they go out and there's firing happening, you are always thinking of that one guy that the bullets will not catch. Because if you think that you're the first one that's going to be shot down, you will be. And that is the kind of rule that you apply to your everyday challenges.
Brilliant. So after 2 heavy questions, let me ask you 2 light questions.
Okay.
Which is the real Madhavan? The Alaipaide Madhavan or the Irdi Juttu Madhavan? Let me rephrase it a little better. Okay. Which is the real personality?
If I have to be very honest with you, the populistic answer would be the smart one to give, but the real answer is I'm more like Prabhu in Infosys.
Alright.
You can make out all this teaching that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm a real life coach.
Okay, this question comes to you from the question is easy, but the names are a little difficult. Okay, Mali is around it. Okay, this is an easy question.
Okay.
Would you accept a chance if you're offered a project manager job in Infosys for
Absolutely. You know, assuming that I'm get that job because I'm worth it, and if I'm worth it, then like I said earlier, it means I'm of world standard. So I definitely would.
poor man, he does not know what he's getting into.
Oh no, I do know. Trust me, brother, I know. You don't know what it means to become a boxer at 25.
Absolutely. Look at me and you can make that out. Okay, now this question, Madhavan, is people said you were not to be seen for some time and you really went on a sabbatical, right? And there are very few heroes who are popular in the south, in the north, be it in the Kannada industry or Malayalam industry. What really made you think at the peak of your career to actually take a sabbatical? Because that's your prime period, right? And to come back with a movie like this, what really went in your head?
So if you were to, for those of you who have seen the film, if you look at the first scene of that film, it is about a coach who is not very high on his moral compass, who is having an affair with somebody else's wife. And in that first scene, you realize that all the qualities that you'll never see in an Indian film hero is what you put that scene as. Okay, and we need to shock people into looking at a different avatar of me which would have then made me like I